just a brief history of room booking here at the Wilson Center. I've been here about 10 years now. Before my time, they actually used notes up on a wall. I'm sure Stephanie probably remembers that. The next step down from that, and this is what I remember, is we actually used to fill out handwritten request forms and then give them to Maria Stella, who would enter them into some calendar somewhere that we couldn't actually see or access. And so all roads led to Maria Stella at that time, which was probably fun for her. We moved on to a product called the MRM, which was literally just a calendar. It didn't handle any of the resource booking. You couldn't really book AV through it. And they ended up buying themselves in a way that I don't understand, and then they sued themselves in a way that I don't understand. And all I know is that it got really, really slow, and the customer service got really, really bad. And so we switched to Condeco. And I think Condeco has been a really great tool for the last 2 years. Condeco is probably best in class in terms of room booking software. And so you'd probably ask, well, then why are we switching, right? And, if you were to look at Condeco's client pool, you would see probably most of the top tier law firms, most of the top tier financial firms. It is custom built. I mean, it's really specifically built to manage high utilization conference rooms. As you guys know, we do a lot more than conference rooms here, right? It's more than just sitting around a table like we're doing here. And so as we went into the event and AV task force, I don't know, was anyone here on that? Obviously, Maria Stella was, right? You were not. Oh, okay. So it wasn't really that secret. There were quite a few people there who had a lot of opinions, many of which led to this. As we went through that, though, we learned a couple of things. We learned that folks were really looking for a tool not just to book a room, but to help them actually plan and execute a really great meeting. On the flip side, as sort of the service providers, as we met, we realized what we were really looking for was not just a tool to book a room or even to book the resources, but a tool that would allow us to most efficiently provide you guys not just with the services that you want, but hopefully with services above and beyond what you want. As you all know, resources are tight here at the center, both in terms of personnel and in terms of money. You've heard that before. But that doesn't mean that we can't do better. And doing better means being better organized. And I think that that's what Ungerbach offers us. So Ungerbach is a unique product type. It's called an event and venue management system. And it is really a complete paradigm shift on how we look at event booking here at the Wilson Center. We look at event booking right now in terms of the booking, right? I want the 4th floor conference room from this time to this time. And that's great. That's really important. But Condeco, or rather Ungerbach, goes one step above, and it says, okay, let's start with the event. Let's start with what your event looks like. And then we'll get down into the bookings, and we'll go even a step further, and we'll get into a run of show that will allow for services and personnel to be dispatched in not just in a broad fashion. You have an all-day event, but when they're necessary, and that'll really help, I think, to ensure that we make the absolute best use of all of the resources we have here at the center, because they are limited. So this is, I've been saying that this is more of a platform than it is a program. With Condeco, what you saw is what you got. With Ungerbach, it really is a canvas, and we get to create what we want out of it. You guys probably know in Condeco right now that there's a checkbox for whether the media is attending or if you're expecting catering. Well, those are completely for show. They can't tie into any reports. We can't search for them. We can't. They're really there so that when we look at the event in Condeco, we can see whether those services are needed or not. But if Ryan wanted to know, for example, what events this week required or media was anticipated, he would have to go through every event and figure that out for himself, because they're really just. It's really just for show, and that kind of jumps over into the next category, which is reporting. This summer, John Tyler and his folks spent, according to them, years, but I don't know how you can do years in a single summer. But they spent a lot of time just trying to figure out simply the number of events the center hosted in 2015, because there was no way to pull that information. So what does Ungerbach really offer us? I mean, there's going to be some early I think wins for us. It offers a wait list. We have all been there, right? We desperately want the auditorium. We know that that event that's in there has like a 50% chance of canceling out, right? Because they've also booked 20 other spaces. But when we call them and ask them, the answer is still, no, 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 I really, really need it. And so currently, there's no way of saying I was first, okay, or I was second, really, to have that space. So with Ungerbach, we're going to be able to do a wait list for you guys, which I think is great. It's also going to allow us to handle those tentative holds, which I don't know if it affects you guys at all, but it is among the most frustrating things for us to see nothing but brown tentative holds on the calendar, because what we want to see is the event confirmed? Is it real? Do we actually have to wake up in the morning, or can we sleep in? And so we're going to be able to manage those tentative holds a lot better with this, and really have a much better sense as to what stage of the event we're at during that process, and I think that's great. Ungerbach is really built to handle complex, multi-phase, multifaceted events, which is more and more what we're doing here. I remember when I first started, Maria Stella, you can remind me, most of our events were relatively simple, right? I mean, we would book the room for a day, we'd all sit in there, talk about things, and then leave. And there wasn't a whole lot of moving parts. As time has gone on, the moving parts involved in each event have really gone up. And Ungerbach is I think going to handle that really well for us. I'd mentioned sort of the client list of Condeco, but I didn't mention the client list of Ungerbach. I actually just got back. I spent all last week in St. Louis at their headquarters helping to build out our system and get some training myself so that I could attempt to train others. And I got to meet a lot of their clients because they have an annual conference and it just happened to coincide. And fascinating, I mean, it's largely performing arts centers, lots and lots of universities. The Washington Nationals uses Ungerbach to manage all of their special events. So not their games, but the special events. They host about 500 a year at the stadium here. The Dallas Cowboys, same thing. They handle a few more. And in typical fashion, the guy from Dallas Cowboys was offering to buy anyone and everyone many drinks if you could answer this problem or that problem. It was just really ridiculous. He very much a cowboy, which is to Alan if he's listening in the booth. So we feel very strongly. The Smithsonian American Indian Museum is also a client, as is Ford's Theater up the street. So in a lot of ways, we really fall much. I feel like we look a lot more like a lot of those organizations than we do like a big law firm or a big finance firm, and so I think that it's a good fit. I'd mentioned the sort of flexibility and customization. So everything you see up there right now, we're looking at what's called the Ungerbach dashboard. I'm logged into the global sustainability. And I saw Benjamin, yeah, and Francesca. I'm logged into the global sustainability account now. This is a dashboard that is unique, or could be unique to them. This is what you'll see when each of you open up your version. But we can customize this to you to show you your events, if there's a topic or an issue that's of specific interest to you that you want to get out of that, we can create these windows for you. As we get more into this, you'll see that we are able to request and track a wide variety of information. We can create any number of fields, any variety of fields, and all of that information can go right back to our reporting module, so that instead of John and his team spending days trying to literally count the number of events that we had in 2015, which is right around 1,800, which is a lot of counting. I can't count that high. That's why I think it took his whole team. But this will actually be able to tell us in quick order not only how many events that we've had, but how many events we've had in each room, how many events each program has had, how many webcasts we've done, how many. Pick your poison. It'll be able to sort of tell us that. The other really, really cool thing here is we have unlimited spaces. So many of you probably ran into this with us on Condeco. Condeco was limited to 12 booking spaces, the ones that we saw. If we wanted to add more, it cost us more money, and it was prohibitively expensive. With Ungerbach, we can actually add as many spaces as you want. So you'll notice as soon as we get into the calendar, right off the bat, we've added a few spaces, the 6th floor landing, the 8th floor landing. But what does this mean is that if you're hosting an event in another country or at another institution, we can actually create a space just for that. If you're doing a lot of offsite events, we can simply create a space just for offsite events, and it will still allow us to track everything. So this allows us to be really the one-stop shop for event management at the center, whether you're working here or elsewhere. It's web-based, so you can access it just about anywhere, and it's you'll see here it's fairly accessible. The other really cool feature is document management, and again, we'll look at this. This has the ability to host all of your event documents from email language to Signage to PowerPoints, whatever, and they can be uploaded here to live for forever. So you don't have to go and search through your share drive when you want to find things, or if you are offsite or at home, you'll still have access to it without having to sort of VPN in and all that fun stuff. So that's really cool. So let's dig in. So I said this is you're looking at right now is your dashboard. On the left-hand side, we have what would be a list of monthly events. We don't obviously have any events in there. And that would be for your particular program or department. On the right-hand side, we have activities. One of the neat features, and we'll look at this in just a little bit, you have the ability to create sort of checklist items as you work through the system. So some of those can be created automatically for you through checklists that we've created, sort of templates. But you can create a checklist item at any time. And because you'll be sharing the account, the benefit is, Angela could create a checklist item for one of her colleagues, and then when they log in, they're going to see that, and that's pretty cool. Similarly, on the admin side, we can create these activities or checklist items for you. So if there's something that we need from you, in addition to maybe communicating by email, we can throw it on your activities list, and as a sort of friendly reminder. So yeah. Actually, use a microphone, because I don't know if I mentioned this, but they are recording this. But fine.
I was just going to ask. I realize that. So whenever we log in, we'll just see little notifications for any requests that you have for us.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And I think as they become close to due or overdue, then you'll get some extra pop-ups and stuff like that. So yes, Marie Stella.
So with a checklist, once an item is complete, does the system mark it as checked? Does the staff person go in and mark it as checked?
The staff person would go in and mark it as checked, and it simply can be done right from this list here on the right. Sorry, I'm not speaking to the microphone. The user would mark it as checked, and they would just do so from this list on the side. It'll bring up a list of options for you, and it could be pending or in progress or something like that. So. And then we even have this nice little information center down here on the bottom right, which right now has just some basic info about Condeco, but it's a place where again, the admins to the system can use to communicate closures or issues or problems, or good stuff too. So you'll see here on the bottom left, we have a listing of our bookings. They're done, in this case, we've chosen to do it by date and by space, and then the status is over there, but we'll get into all of that. So just like with Condeco, we're going to start in the calendar view. It's really the best place to start. There we go. We've put this together in a way to sort of most closely match Condeco, not only because we're sort of comfortable with it, but because it worked and it was successful. So you'll see over on that left-hand side, you'll see the list of spaces that are available to you. There are some spaces, for example, the executive conference room upstairs in the studio, that aren't available to you to book, but that are still going to be managed through the system by admins. And you'll see we're looking right now at simply a day view. We've selected for the day to run from 7 to 6, but using the first and the last column, you can book earlier or later than that if you so choose. I suggest checking in first, though. Yeah.
Is the third floor conference room on there or going to be on there?
It's not presently, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, we wanted to make sure that the third floor conference room remained accessible to the scholars and to the interns who may not have access to Ungerbach. The other part is we felt strongly that it was important to maintain that screen outside the room to allow sort of the ad hoc bookings. Although I think that there's an integration that would allow us to do that here, it's not something we've built out yet.
Okay, awesome. The only thing with that, the iPad, I don't know if the system's still being worked through, but it's been down for like 2 weeks and it's not working.
Okay, that's the first I've heard of it.
I reported it. Well, anyways.
That's fine.
Yeah.
To who? Just out of curiosity.
To Prince.
That's fine. Okay. No, just that's okay. I mean, that just allows me to figure out what happened. I'm sure.
Speak into the microphone, please.
Yeah, exactly.
I love you all.
There's no reprisal for these things. It's just an iPad. Life goes on. But no, that's important though. Thank you. So coming back to the calendar, just a couple of important things. You'll see where it says special events up at the top. There, it's that little narrow row. That's actually a way where, you know the strat cal that we have now that we sometimes use, sometimes don't use, but where we sometimes point out, maybe it's the inauguration or it's a big, all of that's going to start being entered in here. And so as you're doing your booking or holidays or, things along those lines so that, maybe we don't book an event on Rosh Hashanah or on Christmas, that we're not booking events during the inauguration because heck, it's probably not going to get us very far. And so that's really interesting. If there are things or events or activities that you'd like to add to that, just shoot me an email and we can do that. So if some of you maintain a calendar of event, and they don't have to be special events in that sense, but just things that are worth noting for a day, we'd be happy to add those in. So. What's nice here? Oh, sorry, please.
Sorry.
I thought I saw your hand, and then I thought I didn't.
Yeah, it was sort of like I was kind of deciding if I wanted to ask a question. So on this, the special event. So for an example to throw out there. So Joyce Banda and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf were at the Concordia Summit with Gwen last night. Is that the type of thing that we should put in the special events that we say to you? And on that, what are some of the benefits that to us in order for us to put on there? Like what can we expect anything? Is it just sort of FYI? Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
I would say the fact that Joyce Banda and I'm forgetting the other name.
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
Yeah, were there is not precisely something we would put on, but Unga is something that we would put on. The generic, and so the benefit is. The benefit to you personally for sort of raising your hand and saying, hey, can we put this up there, is limited. It's really how does it benefit your colleagues? We may want to at least be aware during the week of Unga that Unga is occurring. And we know it now, right, because we're in it. But a month ago or 6 months ago, we may not have really been too focused on when Unga was. And so having it in here, at least we can have that question, that conversation. When your director says to you, book something on September 21st, you can go back and say, happy to do so, but it is Unga. Are you sure you really want to do that? You have to lead with happy to do so because I've learned otherwise. So which I think is great. So it's a small thing. Oh, sorry, Maria Stahl.
I just wanted to clarify, when we have our communication staff meetings, we do have a report on all the external events going on in the world, and I guess that's what Adam is referring to, that the external events going on that could influence our event schedule is what we would put on there, and that's what we do on the strat calendar as well.
I was just going to give a quick example. Like I accidentally tried to schedule something on the election day and then realized that it was election day, and that's probably not a good day to have an event.
But you may choose to do so. I mean, we're not blocking you from doing that. We're just saying, let's be mindful of it. If it's a large public event, that might be a really bad idea. If it's a small private event with Africans, then it may not matter, right? And that's fine. Hey.
Can we please also include things like board meetings day at the Wilson Center and
Absolutely.
other
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. What we'll do for those is actually create a second category under special events, and we will absolutely include all of that. Yeah, that is really important. Yeah. So just keep in mind, today is really just an overview. You're going to learn a lot more about Overbook as you use it. We get into it. If as you walk out of here, if you have questions or anything that we haven't been able to answer here, or if you just want me to sit down with you and go through it, I'm more than happy to do so. But so this is really just a broad overview so you can become familiar with it. We're also, Overbook is in the process right now of preparing some quick reference materials for us, so one-pagers on how to accomplish some certain things. I just wanted to show you though here, if you wanted to, there we go, you could look at a 3-day calendar, you could look at a quarterly calendar, whatever you want. For example, the quarterly calendar might be a great way to book a recurring meeting that isn't tied to a specific schedule. So if it's, let's say you want to book the 19th and then the 15th of the next month and then the 12th of the next month, this is a great way to do that. And we'll show you how to do that. But I'm going to start with a really simple booking, and then we'll get a little bit more complex as we go through this. Okay, so to book a space, it's really just as simple as highlighting the area that you would like. I highlighted the wrong thing. No, I should look down here, sorry. So you highlight the area that you'd like. You'll see this little booking window comes up down at the bottom here. It indicates what the space is, what the time is. This is where certainly if you wanted to, you may have selected 9 to 12, but let's say you really wanted 9:30 to 11:30. You could do that here. One other really great feature, and we're going to see it in the next screen. Right now, you all know we have a setup time and a teardown time of 30 minutes for every meeting. That's going to stay. It can still be amended by an administrator, just as we've done up to now, but that's going to stay. But one of the things that we've added in is what's called a move-in and a move-out time. And this is the time that you want to get into the space. So we all know that there have been incidents or situations where you may want to be in the room for whatever reason. Maybe it's a really complicated event and you need to get lots of stuff set up on the tables. You want to get in at 8:30 instead of 9 o'clock, but the event actually starts at 9. The problem is we book it for 8:30, and then John Tyler, my team, AV team, don't really know, well, what time is the actual event starting? Sometimes you're good enough to put it in the notes, sometimes not. Sometimes we notice it in the notes, sometimes we don't. But the benefit here is that we're now going to have 3 categories of time. So there's going to be a lead and strike time. That's the time that the administratively that we require the room to turn it over. And that's still going to be a half hour before and a half hour after. We'll still have the event end and start time, obviously. But we're also adding in there a move-in and a move-out time in case you guys want extra time on either end. Again, let's say your event ends at 4 o'clock, but you guys want to stay in the room for an extra half hour for networking or whatnot. You can go ahead and add that in. And that way, from a service provision perspective, we'll know that your event ended at 4, and we don't need to do anything else. But you'll still have the room without concern that somebody's going to book it out from under you. So now these 3 columns over here are probably the most important in the system. The status column, the requested setup, and the usage. Status is what is the status of this particular booking. You'll see there's a lot of options up there. We're going to pay attention to everything above those bottom black ones. So we confirmed is the best place to be, right? Confirmed is where we really want to be. That means that not only is the event going to happen, but your information's in there and we're really good to go. Tentative means that the event's going to happen, but you're still kind of finalizing the details. Maybe we're not sure how many microphones we need or whatnot. We've added this field for dining room requested. We all know that in order to use the dining room for an event requires Andrew Seeley's permission, which is great. But we wanted to provide a mechanism in here for us to know that you're in the process of requesting that, but so that we don't have to worry about whether or not it's being requested and get uppity about it. But at the same time that it hasn't yet been received. So that's in there. Tentative, there's actually 2 tentatives. They're supposed to be deleting the brown tentative, so we can ignore that for now. And then hold 1 and hold 2 is how we're working the wait list. So if you see an event on there and it's green confirmed or light green tentative, or even if it's dining room requested, that means it's confirmed. The event's happening. We're just waiting to iron out some of the details. That means you can still book over it but you would use one of the hold 1 or hold 2 categories to indicate that. Just to answer what everybody's thinking, there is a really robust audit feature. So if you try to steal the room from somebody, we're going to know, and we'll hold you to it. So just be aware of that. We're going to go ahead and do confirm for right now, just for our test. Requested setup, and this is sort of a bug, and I'm going to be open about it because I'm not terribly happy with it. Right now, it lists all of the room setups for the entire space, not just the room setups that are available to the room that you've selected. I'll show you how you can figure that out. They're working on fixing it. Remarkably, we're the first people who asked for it. But yeah, it's crazy, but such is life. So I'm going to go ahead. We're in the 5th floor conference room, so I'm going to go ahead and select Hollow Square. Obviously, if you went to book something that's not available, it is going to tell you that it's not available. It's not going to let you proceed, but it's just a little ugly. And then finally is usage. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, for the requested setup, you can't select more than one. So for example, what if you wanted the square, but you also wanted, because did it say, sorry, can you open that one again?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think it also said food service. So what if we want food service with a hollow square? Like, what do we do there?
So food service shouldn't be on this list. I didn't notice that.
Okay.
We'll have that removed. Hollow Square is the actual room configuration, it's just like what we're looking at here. There's only going to be one room configuration at a time in a room. But we'll talk about what you're talking about, Grace.
Yeah, I think it's just the food service. Once that's removed, then
Yeah.
it's more clear.
So in the usage category, this is the primary use of the space. We realize that space can be used in multiple ways. You may have catering at the back of a room, but the primary purpose of the room is for the event. You may have some coffee and cookies in the hold room, but the primary purpose of that. Now, if you book the Gildenhorn room for the sole purpose of catering, you want to just put your buffet there, then that would be catering. If AV needs to book the Gildenhorn room for C-SPAN to set up in, that would be AV. And again, all of this ties into that reporting and being able to know just how we're using the space. Help us think through how to better use the space. Yeah.
Sorry, just to clarify on some of the categories. So for hold room, that's different than the
That's like a green room.
That's the green room. So if we're having like a speaker, like the office call to get mic'd up before an event.
Correct, exactly.
That's what, okay. And then what is move-in is just kind of like a prep room?
You know, there are times where we have needed to reserve rooms to store like
Gotcha.
recording equipment or other stuff. That would be the purpose for that.
And then does office mean, is that internal meetings?
No, office, this is a good question, and the documents that we're going to put out, the quick reference guides will have these definitions on it. But office is, we have had times where people have taken the Gildenhorn room over as a temporary office for an event, sort of like as a in fact, I think ECSP has done this before when they've done some of these long multi-day events, and it may even be before either of your guys' time that I'm remembering. But where we've actually set up, computers and other things in there just to use as an office. So, okay, there's a note field if you want to use it. Then we're going to go to book. Okay, so here's our booking form. It doesn't look a whole lot different than what's in Condeco. We've got a few more options available to us here. The one most important thing that I'd like to point out, however, is the addition of this event lead field you see over there on the upper right-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and select Program or Office. What I'll point out here, and so we're in the Global Sustainability account right now. That's the general account. I know you guys have the Environmental Change and Security Program. You also have the Maternal Health Initiative. You will have access to all of those from within here, so you can book for any of those and make sure that it's connected to the right program. So I'm going to go ahead and just select Environmental Change and Security. I would add to that if you want to add to the list, we basically went off of what you have on your websites, but if you want to add to the list either for initiatives or for other things that you want to draw attention to, we can certainly do that. Now, over here, sorry.
So are accounts going to be linked to programs or are accounts going to be by person?
By program,
Okay.
yes.
So there'll be one ECSP account. That
Correct, exactly. Yep.
Sorry, I know of a lot of questions.
No, that's okay.
For the media expected, CEO participation, and catering, there's only a no box. So otherwise, are you assuming that's yes?
So we did that just to kind of clean it up a little bit. We can change it to a different format. Right now, those are all no's. And then if I were to select one of them with a checkbox, it changes it to yes.
Oh,
So
it's just
it's different.
fancy.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So up here we have the event lead field, and that will have all of the staff members from your team pre-populated there. As an example, Benjamin could easily go into the system and book an event and say, you know what, I'm not really the event lead. I'm just doing this as a favor or because I'm here in the office or whatever. But he can select Francesca as the event lead. Now, event lead, this is the person. This is the one-stop shop. This is the single point of communication for your event with the rest of the center, right? So if AV has a question, this is who they should call. Day of, if we're looking for somebody to make a decision about where something goes or what happens, that's the person that we should be going to. It doesn't mean that you can't sort of coordinate and collaborate within your group, but we're looking for you to just say, here's the person who's going to be there and going to be responsible for it. So we've got the in and out times. Those are if you wanted to book the room for earlier or later than the actual start and end times of your event. Start and end time are just as you'd expect. Media expected, CEO participation requested, and catering required. Those are just what they are in Condeco. Yes.
Adam, if there are other events, let's say there's a group that is 9 to 12, but let's say there's another event starting at 1 o'clock. If they do the end time, for example, an hour after, to want to stay in the room at 1,
It won't allow that.
So the system will actually alert and say you can't because another program is coming in. And
Correct.
it will also allow for the half-hour buffer setup time for that program?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also new to Ungerbach, and a little bit different from Condeco, we have this type, class, and signature event field. Type is going to look somewhat similar to what we did in Condeco. You know, is it a holiday? Is it maintenance? That's good for us to know. Is the meeting internal, private, or public? We're open to suggestions here. So if we've missed a category that you feel is really important, let us know, and we'll certainly consider it and see how it fits with everybody else at the center. Next one is class. And so we have here high-level center. That is really just for Maria, Stella, and Richard, and Floranica to use. But the high-level program is there for your use. If it's a program that doesn't maybe quite get to the level of sort of the full center involvement, you know, the sort of full court press, but you want to tell us, listen, hey, this is actually a pretty important event to us, and that's up to you how you define that. It could be that you have funders there. It could be that it's Joyce Banda. It could be, I mean, it could be whatever you decide it to be. This is really subjective, but you just want to communicate that, gosh, this counts, so let's make it count, right? Not that we don't bring 100%, but this is the sort of thing we could bring 110% to. So that's there for you to use. And then the signature event, this is really for tracking. This includes the national conversation, the directors forum, day at Wilson, and the board meeting. And that's really just for reporting purposes. But this is where I'd like to say, I was talking about the customization of this. If there's really anything about your events that you would like to track, we can probably figure out a way to do it. And we can figure out a way to do it that would be unique to you, so that if we put an extra field up here because the Africa program wants to track, I'm thinking in the Brown Capital events or something like that, it would be visible to the Africa program, but it would not necessarily be visible to anybody else. So think about ways that we can do this. I'm also thinking about ECSP. I know with the federal grants, especially, that there's a lot of tracking to be done. There's a lot of numbers to be calculated, and certainly if you can think of it, we can probably find a way to fit it in here with a little bit of collaboration and some time. So just keep that in mind. Now, as we come down here into section 1, these are our co-sponsors. So one of the issues that we have long had is we all co-sponsor, right? It happens every day, all day, and it's important. But Condeco has never really given us a way to track those co-sponsors. And so what we've done here is from these drop-down lists, you can actually select another program or office here at the center. And so I'm going to put this down for just a second. So the way that all these fields work, if you just type, let's see, it's going to search. I haven't pulled the HAP project up recently. So it'll actually bring up, let's say Cold War International History Project, and you could select them as a co-sponsor. We've also included that larger field down at the bottom, the one that says additional co-sponsor. And this is a great place if you're working with, like, say, the Brookings Institution or the Carnegie or whomever, you can add them in down there. This is especially important because we've got something fun to announce. We are moving towards actually feeding the digital signage off of Overbook instead of the website as we currently do it. The benefit there's a whole lot of benefits there. Number one, a lot more control over what is actually displayed. Number two, it allows us to display events that don't necessarily get listed on the website. So when you have private events, there's a way to handle that now. Three, the digital signage will become significantly more dynamic. So Overbook in the system will actually create, based on the fields that we fill in, it'll actually create a single screen for each of your events. So let's say, again, Africa Program's having an event up on the 6th floor, and it's, I don't know what, but the topic would be up there. You could upload a photo that would get pulled into the display, maybe a Twitter level amount of text, start and end times, and that would show up. And so we're really excited about that. So just something to keep in mind. Go ahead, Madison. Oh, sorry.
For the event title field, is that going to be, is that an internal title, or is that the external title that gets showed on that screen?
It is the official title. I apologize. So here it filled it in for me because it defaults to the programmer office. But you can erase that and put in, but you would want to use your official event title.
Okay.
Certainly that's what's going to show up
Not
on
like
the
a
digital
shorthand,
signage.
like
right,
minister,
as we
blah,
often
blah,
do.
blah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madison first.
Exactly.
Just a question in terms of, since we're probably going to be moving towards some resource limitation, is there a significance to listing co-sponsors here? And is there going to be some degree of resource sharing when it comes to when you're doing reporting from this?
Yeah, so yes, but I don't know specifically how. To be very honest, a big part of it is to demonstrate just how significant the collaboration here is at the center. And when you talk about resources, when we can get 3 or 4 or more programs at the center involved in a single event, we're magnifying the quality of that event, we're magnifying the reach of that event, but we're only employing the same level of resources, of center resources. Will it feed into, I know there's been a lot of conversation, and there will be more in the staff committee meeting right after this. Will it feed into how some services might or might not be charged? I believe it will, but that hasn't been worked out yet. Yeah.
2 more questions while I have the mic.
Fantastic. Why not?
Will we be able to run reports for ourselves?
Absolutely. Yes.
Good, easy question. Are colors individually customizable? Let's say you have a deficiency. I saw basically no difference between tentative and confirmed.
Okay. But I will tell you a huge part of that is because it's on the projector. It's
Okay.
much clearer on the screen. But if anyone has issues, those are changeable. I mean, they're changeable across the entire organization. We can't
Gotcha.
change them on an account basis. But certainly, if we have a person here who can't see it, we'd be happy to change it.
Primary colors are awesome to the extent that they're usable.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
Back to the point about this being able to feed into the signage. Can you clarify that the TV screens, like the LCD screens?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's correct.
Okay.
So it's the LCD screens in each of the elevator lobbies.
Okay.
It's the 2 on the ground floor level, So that's the one in the elevator lobby and the one outside of the exhibit. And this isn't 100%, but probably about 95%. At some point during this year, we'll be adding digital signage outside of each of the meeting rooms, and it'll also feed that.
Okay. So as a follow-up, for things to be posted to the website, we still need to go through Lauren.
That is correct.
For
yes.
that, right?
Yep,
Okay.
that is correct.
Maybe I missed it, but what if we don't want it on the screen? What if there's an event that's internal? Is there a way to say?
There will
public
be,
in
as
the-
soon as that's activated, there will be a
Okay.
button that says do
Okay,
not
'cause
display.
We do have so many internal meetings as well. Okay.
Right, exactly.
Come to our staff meeting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I also have 3 questions.
Perfect.
But do we know yet which fields are going to be showing up on the signs?
No, that has not been decided. That's certainly open to conversation.
Okay. And can co-sponsors, will they be able to edit their events that they're co-sponsoring?
Currently, no, although that's an issue that's been brought up by others across this process, so we're working with Ungerbach to see if that wouldn't be possible.
Okay. And then for going back to the status line,
Mhm.
if we're at the very initial stages where we're giving 3 possible dates to a partner, should
Right.
we be listing those events as hold 1?
I'm gonna no. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do that because
Okay.
it's actually very cool. So let me, unless there are other questions, I'll kind of go through this, but that's actually okay. So this is what I'm actually pretty excited about this, right? So right now, everything I'm showing you has pretty much been able to be accomplished in something like Condeco. We're not really showing the real true strengths of the system yet. I'm going to go through some of the other basic functionality, and then I'm going to show you where the system actually shines, because it's pretty spectacular. Okay, so excuse me. So the first part here is, of course, how do we order stuff, right, for the purposes of the room? There's the, sorry. Just make sure it makes sure for you that you save everything before you continue on. And this is actually a little bit of a preview of where we're going, Benjamin, because you'll see how this is set up and you'll wonder why. So this is, all of the services and products and stuff that you need for your event are able to be ordered through the service order module. And you'll see here it actually lists all of the spaces down there. That's not by mistake, actually. What I'm going to show you next is that you can actually book multiple spaces all at the same time. So let's say, for example, you have a head of state coming, and we're going to host that in the auditorium. At the same time, though, you need a green room in the Gildenhorn room. And we're going to use the boardroom for overflow. And we're going to do a reception afterwards in the dining room. So what's that, 4 rooms? In Condeco, it required 4 separate bookings. You had to enter information in 4 separate times. And unless you were really, really clear in the title of that event, sometimes it wasn't especially clear to the rest of us that those events were actually linked in any way. With Ungerbach, it approaches it from the perspective of that is all a single event with multiple bookings. And so let's say that were the case, you could come in here and you could actually order whatever you needed for the various rooms that you were going to be in. And these just pop open, and then they pop open, and then you just enter in the quantity of whatever it is that you're looking for. This Ungerbach has a significantly more robust inventory control. So the issues that we've had in the past where you might have requested 95 microphones for the 5th floor conference room. I'm looking at Mexico. And the system said, yeah, sure, happy birthday, good. And then they don't actually exist. This is going to prevent that from happening to you. It's going to come up and say, listen, we don't have 95 microphones. We have 8 microphones. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go talk to John or to Alan or somebody and try to get them to do what you're asking. But the system itself won't allow that to sort of progress. So, Grace?
Yeah, does it coordinate with other offices besides like AV? So I'm thinking the iPads for registration, because we always put those in Condeco, but then we have to reach out to Lauren and schedule and see about getting them to other places, and it's just there's kind of a lack of communication.
So, good point. It can, and we'll work on that.
Okay.
But I think that's important.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So with a single event with multiple bookings thing, can you like reserve the different rooms for different periods of time? Because like a lot of times we'll need like the Gildan Horn as a holding room, but we don't need to hold it the whole day.
Right. So, let me just real quick. We'll go through this. So we're in service orders. Documents is where you would upload that document management idea. You would simply upload your documents here if you wanted to. There's a notes field, which is pretty straightforward. I'm going to spend a couple of seconds on functions, but not too much because it's sort of maybe a more advanced feature, and we can discuss it at a later time. This is actually where you can create a run of show for your event within Ungerbach. And there's a lot of benefit to this. The first of which is that it's a single place to store that information, which is great. Helps you to collaborate with your team. Everything can be printed in a nice, user-friendly report format. So instead of you having to play around with Excel or Word to get everything to line up, this will do it for you. But the other part of this is that you can actually, as you go to book those service items, those things, let's say you have an all-day event in the 5th floor conference room, and you really need that teleconferencing setup that John has, right? We only have one of those here at the center. So if you're using it, it means nobody's using it. Nobody else is using it. Currently in Condeco or anything else, all you can do is book it for the entirety of your event, and then maybe through some notes or through a conversation explain that that's the case. But any type of inventory control goes out the window. With this, you can actually tie that booking directly to your function and say, I only really need it for the afternoon, the first session in the afternoon. So that means that if somebody needed it in the morning, you haven't locked it down for the whole day. It means other people can use it. And this is where I was saying resources at the center are limited, and that's going to happen anywhere. We only have one of those teleconferencing boxes that John has built, and that's usually okay. But every so often we run into a situation where 3 people need it on the same day. We're hoping that we're counting on Ungerbach to bring that under control. Madison.
What is it going to look like on the end of the person managing the inventory? Are they going to see it when they log in? Are they going to have email, report? I'm just curious because usually, say I'm on one side of this, I know what I've put in, but I have literally zero idea what the interaction or what it is that looks like on the other end.
That's actually a really great question. So there's going to be a couple of things. Remember when I said, that dashboard? Well, your dashboard is going to be really helpful to you, and we're going to have a dashboard that's really helpful to us. And it's going to outline what those requirements are and what service orders we have. Every time you create a service order for anything, it creates a work order for us. So it's a service order on your side, it's a work order on our side. And it's the great part is it is a paper work order. We can print it out and carry it with us and go room to room. Really nice is that every work order that's produced in the system will have, if I printed one, it would be for support operations, and it would really emphasize the tables and chairs that you guys need. But down at the bottom in smaller text, it would also tell me what you've requested from AV. So if I walk into the room getting ready to set up tables, or my team does, and they realize there's no microphones out, the projector is off, and I look at this form and says, wow, you've asked for a lot of AV, and nothing's, well, we can send somebody over to AV and say, hey guys, is this, what's going on? Or vice versa. And we do that now. I mean, we try to take care of each other, but it's imperfect because we don't always have that information. So it's going to be visible to us in a variety of ways, and it's also going to be interactive to us, which I think is great. We'll have those work orders. There's actually a separate module. Well, those work orders will be on our mobile devices as well, and so it'll be interactive from there. So, cool. Just a quick look at what these functions can do. And I'm going to see if this will work. So let's do session 1. And then I can do panel A. And so you actually have 5 levels of indentation here. To sort of capture in a hierarchical level whatever it is that you're attempting to do, which is really cool. And you'll also see over here, we have moved the tracking of attendance to the function level in case you want to, or you can track all of your attendance on that booking function. So the function is not necessary to create an event. It's an added feature. We would strongly recommend it for larger events, more high-profile events where there's a lot of moving pieces. Certainly if you're having a really simple 1-hour event, there's probably no reason to do it, though you're welcome to if it would help you. But this booking function, the top one here, that's going to be on every event that you create just automatically. And so we're looking now to track 4 levels of attendance, which I realize is a lot, and it's more than we've looked at before. But I think that this is going to be helpful both in terms of managing the space resources here, but also in terms of you guys reporting to funders and the like. So the forecast attendance, that's that first column there, is what you anticipate, sort of gut check what you think is going to show up to your event. That's what we've been putting into Condeco for the most part. Final RSVP is probably the night before or the morning of, whatever you have in Maximo. Actual attendance, it can be a guesstimate. I mean, if you're using the iPads downstairs, it'll give you a precise number. If you're not, then a quick head count in the auditorium is plenty. And then also the webcast attendance. What we're finding is that not only are the numbers of people attending events going up, but the number of webcast participants are going up too. And it's important, we think, to present the event in its entirety, right? So if you had 100 people in the auditorium and you had 200 people online, you really had 300 people at your event. And we want to stop just looking at the heads that we get up there and look at it from the whole. As it stands, these are fields that you will have to enter yourselves. We're investigating, and I think it's quite likely that it'll work, but an integration with Marketo to at least pull some of those numbers automatically. So.
Or a different system.
Well, that is outside of my purview. Okay. Any other questions on sort of this simple booking? Yeah.
Does that include us entering the webcast attendance?
Correct. Yes.
How will we get
John
that?
Tyler is preparing a instructional piece of paper that should help you with that. I have zero idea how to do that. None at all. So I don't believe when I was in the programs we really had webcasts. I don't remember them, not certainly as they are today. Okay, so we're going to go back and we're going to take a look now at sort of a multi-event, right? Now, the easiest example I'm going to give is this. You can actually, as you're selecting those fields, you can select multiple rooms at the same time. And you'll see down there, now I've included the 6th floor landing and the Gildenhorn room. But let's say I also wanted to use the memorial hallway. Well, I can go ahead and add that just like that. Now, to Liz's point, generally we're not going to be using all of those spaces at the same time. You can actually change the start time and the end time right here, and it'll correct that for us. So that's very, very cool, I think. The other option is, and this goes to something that Benjamin said. What if I want to book 3 different days because I don't know yet what I'm doing, right? So I can come out here and let's say I just want to go to the 7-day category, and I can book that one, 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 all at the same time. Now, there's a lot of benefit to this. One is that it's easy, right? And you're not making multiple steps. The other problem is, and we have all seen this, we go in there and we book 3 or 4 spaces because we're trying to figure out which is right. You finally get, in the mad dash, the mad scramble, you finally get confirmation that we're going to do it on Wednesday, the 21st. And what happens to all those other holds that you placed? You just kind of forget about them, right? No one here, but in the other 2 training sessions I did, they all did that, right? I've never done that, but the great thing here is that when you come back in to start to make the changes to your real event, the one that's actually going to occur, you're going to see these, and it's as simple as just going in and you can. There's 2 options here. You can either just click on canceled, or if you come over here, you can actually just remove it and it'll delete it, and that frees that space back up for other people. which is really great. And as I said, when you go into that service order booking, you can actually specify which booking to do. So and you can specify what times you need that for. So which is great. Any other questions? Yes, Matt. One question or three? One. Okay.
What's the over/under on each of those event blocks? Is that like, hey, we're going to take half the fourth floor. You want to come join us if you can, with your other program? When you were highlighting.
I'm sorry. I will. That has no meaning.
Cool.
I'll show you a couple of things though that do have meaning. So the real reason why there are 2 rows is because we have 2 rows of text. You see where it says environmental change? That would continue to say, more. But it gives you the title of the event and the program that is associated with it. We could have up to 4 rows, so it would increase it. Now, what I will show you though is, let's say I go in and I do want to book this space as a hold. I just want to show you what that's going to look like to you. So here's what's going to happen if you try to overbook an event is it's going to come up and say, listen, this is a problem. It'll give you this little red exclamation point, which you can click on and see what exactly is the problem and what the times are. In this case, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing, okay, this is a confirmed event, so I can't book as a confirmed event. Okay. But that doesn't mean I can't book as a hold. I'm hitting the wrong button, I think. Okay, so if I just click OK, it'll allow me to overbook that. And so you see here, when it's closed up, it's going to show you the confirmed event. But if I open that up, it's going to show me that there's a hold event in there as well. And so you'll be able to see both on the calendar up to 2 levels. So, no? Okay.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. You can ask. That's what we're here for.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
If there's another program that puts a hold on afterwards and you cancel your event, the confirmed event, does the status automatically change, or should you notify them and they can then go in and change it?
So it does not automatically change, and it doesn't automatically change because people change, right? I mean, the fact that you put a hold on it 6 months ago doesn't mean that you still want it today, which is why it requires actual human contact. The program that has the hold will see that on their dashboard,
Okay.
and they can go in and change it. You can certainly let them know as a courtesy. There's nothing wrong about that, but
They'll get a notification that
it'll
that
be
it's
part of the
available?
reporting on their dashboard. Yeah. Yeah.
Are there limits on how many people can be logged into an account at the same time?
Yes. So each account, each program account that you guys have, or each office account, can have 1 person logged in at a time. Yeah. I'll also show, and because I neglected this earlier, so if you hover over any of these spaces, it'll actually provide you with some good information about the space, what's available in it, and the capacities and things like that, which is useful. So any other questions about what we've seen so far? There's lots and lots more to the product, but this is certainly what we need to get going. So a couple things that are coming down the line. We've got these quick reference guides that will come out shortly. You should get your login information today to be able to go in and start moving around. Important to note, of course, as we've been emphasizing in the emails, that Condeco sunsets on September 30th. So your events for next year need to be moved over before that time. There's a really great report in Condeco that I can pull. I don't know if it's accessible from your accounts, but there is a great report that I can pull that actually has all of the information for each event. If you're interested, shoot me an email, and I'll do that for your account, your Condeco account, so that you can use that to help with the migration. It's really easy then to just kind of look at the report and copy and over. Yes?
Is this live now?
It is.
That we can start using it?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. We mentioned the digital signage. We're really excited about that. The hope is by January 1, that'll be up and running. Maybe sooner if we can twist their arm. And one thing that's also coming down the line, and John Tyler is especially excited about this, but it's event profiles or templates. The idea is that they call it event profiles. It's a template for events that we do on a very regular basis, or for event types that we do on a regular basis, or if you have an event that you do on a regular basis and you want to create a template for it, it would allow you to book the event really with 1 or 2 clicks. You just change the date, and it'll fill in all of your service order items, and it'll fill in other information as you'd like. And so it can even copy over documents and stuff from another event. So it makes it really easy. We're in the process right now of building out some general templates. They mostly surround the AV side of things because there's so much ambiguity there sometimes. And John wants to make sure that they're providing the best service that they can without providing more than they need to. So that's coming along the way. Ungerbach does twice yearly major updates. So there is an update scheduled for, I believe it's December, and then another one for May, where they'll add functionality. A lot of that is sort of behind the scenes to help us manage it, but a lot of that is also for use by you all, increased functionality. So we're really excited with the partnership with them. I think that it's going to be a system that we can grow with us and for us. And I can't emphasize enough, really the customization is borderline infinite. I mean, you can really do just about anything. So if you have ideas or thoughts on things that would make your lives easier, whether they're general ideas, which we could apply to the whole center, or really it's just something that would work well for the Mexico Institute, that's okay. We want to work with you guys on that because it's a couple of clicks for us, but if it saves you an hour of time reporting on a grant, 6 months from now, that's as much as we can hope for, right? And so just let us know. I've said in the other groups, the answer with Condeco typically was no, we can't do that. The answer here is typically going to be, yeah, we can. What does that look like? How do we make that work for everybody? So that's where we're at. Any questions or concerns, let me know. As you get into it, if you want me to come, I can sit next to you as we enter in a couple of events, if that would make you feel more comfortable. If you want to have a longer conversation about how this can be used to benefit your specific program or office, that's also a conversation that we can have. So just let me know. But thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.